First this half hour, Canada has revoked Aung San Suu Kyi's honorary Canadian citizenship because of Myanmar's treatment of Rohingya Muslims. That happened yesterday officially. More than 500,000 Rohingya people were driven from Myanmar in a violent military push just over a year ago. There were mass killings, there were gang rapes, and many other atrocities. Rais Tinmong has been advocating for his people ever since. He is with the Rohingya Human Rights Network. It has worked to help prompt Canada to declare the violent actions against the Rohingya people as a genocide. Now, Tinmong is going to be in Winnipeg this weekend for an event at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. I spoke with him earlier, and to be clear, in case you wonder why you don't hear me asking about it, it was before the Suu Kyi decision. But I spoke with him about Canada's decision to declare the genocide.
I think it's a first step in a very important direction that we need to take for quite some time already, and not only Canada, but the international community as a whole. But I'm glad that we have taken that first step, and the subsequent actions, concrete actions that have to follow, is what will make the real difference.
What concrete actions have to follow?
Well, once you declare that it's a genocide, as a member to the Genocide Convention, which, as a matter of fact, even Myanmar has signed, the 1948 Genocide Convention that was ratified by 149 states, it requires that once a country who has ratified the Genocide Convention has violated that convention, the other member states call out on that country and impose legal and political pressures and measures in order to stop that country from continuing its genocidal operations.
How hopeful are you that that's what's going to develop?
Well, as an actress, as a member of the Rohingya community, with family that still continues to be in Myanmar, I cannot lose hope. It has been very dim, but I always keep hope, and my government has taken a good step. It is a first step in the right direction, and I'm hopeful that it will follow with other countries, with other allies that will follow Canada's lead into this, into calling out on Myanmar.
What do you hear about from your family that is still in Myanmar?
There are some family who I talk to, those especially who are in northwestern Rakhine. I talk to very rarely, whenever I get a chance, on social media. They're still living in that place. They are still, their kids cannot go to school. They've got curfews after 6 p.m. It only applies to the Rohingya. They cannot have peaceful gathering. They cannot go to mosques. Everybody around them, they look at them as others, as people who are not welcome here. And violence can break out at any moment, and God knows what's going to happen.
Earlier this week, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh said the Rohingya are a burden in her country, that her country cannot bear, and that the people cannot stay indefinitely in Bangladesh. What is your response to that?
I'm going to speak on behalf of people that I met with and interviewed while I was at the refugee camps last year. I stayed there for 1 month, and we interviewed about 100 people from 15 different villages underground. Each one of them sincerely cried tears thanking the Bangladeshi government for all that they have done.
What did you think, though? I'm thinking about your response to this. You've written a letter to call this a genocide that came through from our country. You're talking about your family back there. You're watching this from half a world away. And now the latest thing in the news this week is maybe these people should be sent to an island.
As human beings, we tend to try and take it away from what's not in front of our eyes. If it is not there in front of you, then you live more comfortably, I guess. So here's a problem. It is on your face. Now you take it away from your face. But what does that mean? Does it mean the problem doesn't exist anymore? Are my people not human beings? What will they do? Go and stay in an island, disconnected from the rest of the world, disconnected from mainland? Where will they get their food? Where will they get their water? It's going to be another giant apartheid, another giant open prison. They are currently living in Myanmar in apartheid, but now they'll be living in the island.
You volunteered in Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh. What stories stayed with you after being there?
So there was this one interview in which it was a very difficult interview, and he talked about his wife who was pregnant, and they were running away, and he came back. Though his wife could not run away, she couldn't cope. And when he returned to where she was butchered. She was tried to bury, but they couldn't finish that, and the military was back and they had to run. I stopped, or I couldn't continue, and then I told him just out of a fit of fury. I just reacted. It was so stupid of me. I said, why did you not take your wife with you? Why did you not carry her? And I was so stupid saying that because I was traumatized. I was not just, it was my instant reaction, but he broke down even more. He goes, I was just running for my life. My kids were running for their lives. We didn't know what to do. In hindsight, even I have nightmares. Why did I not take? And
what can people here in Canada do to move forward? How do you hope that the help comes from here in Canada?
You know, as a nation, we strive towards human rights. We've got a long ways to go, but we have. So it's important what Canada can do as civil societies, as individuals, because we work towards human rights. This is how we make the world a better place. And as civil societies, just like the Museum for Human Rights, they have taken a stance. They have gone and acknowledged that, yes, with a leader like Suu Kyi, who stands on top of a regime that is conducting genocide, we cannot honor her like we are honoring the other honorary Canadian citizens. So it's because of civil societies like the museum that we make a change, and this is what Canada can do. We're hosting an exhibit very soon. It's because the museum is acknowledging our efforts. It's including us in this important exhibit. And these kinds of activities and these kinds of initiatives raise awareness. And we have to do this in everywhere, in other parts of Canada as well, so that we can raise this awareness for not only the Rohingya, but any other persecuted ethnic minority out there.
Mr. Tin Mong, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Marcy.
That's right, he's Tin Mong. He's a member of the Rohingya Human Rights Network and several other global groups that raise awareness about the Rohingya genocide. He is in Winnipeg. I spoke to him earlier this week. He's going to be here this weekend, though, as part of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights event called Rohingya Crisis, A Dialogue for Change. Now, that's happening tomorrow from 1 to 4:30. Anyone's welcome to go, and all are welcome to go, but you need to pre-register for the event through the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. And as you could hear in that conversation, it happened before yesterday's developments. The Human Rights Museum is now further considering what to do with the exhibit of Aung San Suu Kyi. You might recall that she was in there as a human rights hero, and they decided not to remove her from the museum, but to dim her display and have an explanation on the front. But yesterday, with the Canadian government taking away her honorary Canadian citizenship, they may, in fact, have further action, which will make tomorrow afternoon's talk actually pretty interesting and, of course, even more relevant time-wise. So that's tomorrow afternoon if you want to go from 1 to 4:30.
Hi, my name is Devorka Monty, and I'm the Executive Director of Healthy Start for Mom and Me. I work with families in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is a wonderful community. I think that's what I've learned over the years of being involved with Healthy Start. When our neighbor's down, we're there to help them. I feel so fortunate to be living here and working here every day.
People, places, and stories. CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM.
6:22 a.m. School 1 degree in Winnipeg, and a high of 5. And you may be waking up to a little frost on your windshield, depending on where you are. I had just a touch on the edges of mine in the center of the city here.